The Tsar's Promise, retold by Robert D. Souci and illustrated by Lauren Mills. Based deep in the tradition of Russian folklore, the Tsar's Promise is a magnificent tale of adventure and enchantment, honor and love. On a journey through his kingdom, Tsar Koyata is confronted by a demon with emerald eyes. The Tsar, fearful for his life, promises the monster whatever he finds waiting for him at home. What the Tsar doesn't realize is that he just promised the demon his only child, a newborn son named Ivan. Years later, young Ivan fatefully meets the wicked creature and finds he has no choice but to honor his father's promise. Ivan's wretched fate seems cast in stone until he comes upon a crystal lake and a mysterious duck who proves that the power of love can rival and turn even the most dismal fate. In Russia, there was once a Tsar named Koyata, whose flaxen beard was his pride and joy. He let it grow so long that it reached below his knees. Though he and his wife, the Tsaritsa, loved each other dearly, the fact that heaven had sent them no child made them sad. One day the Tsar told his wife, "I must journey throughout my kingdom to see how things fare." After 8 months of traveling, he found himself at the edge of a vast forest. The fiery sun gave the Tsar a tormenting thirst. He rode into the woods in search of water. Near sunset, he came upon a clear lake. He plunged his face, beard and all, into the cool water, drinking deeply. When he tried to stand up, however, something held his beard below the water's surface. "What deviltry is this?" cried the Tsar. "Let me go!" Terrified, he saw a horrible face grinning at him from the depths. It had 2 great green eyes, glowing like emeralds, a nose like a hawk's bill, and a mouth that reached from ear to ear. Powerful claws gripped the ruler's beard. A voice gurgled from the lake. "Tsar Koyata, I will let you go only if you promise to give me what you will find waiting for you when you return home." Eager to be free and thinking there was nothing in his palace worth risking his life for, the Tsar quickly answered, Yes, I promise you shall have it, whatever it is." The voice replied, "So be it." The claws relaxed, and the face sank deep into the water and disappeared. Tsar Koyata stood up, mounted his horse, and decided to return home at once. There he was met by the Tsaritsa, who placed in his arms the son born to him during his long absence. The ruler kissed the child and placed the gold cross around the infant's neck, forgetting, in his joy, his promise to the demon. The Tsarevich, whose name was Ivan, grew into a handsome youth, the pride of his parents. One day, while he was hunting in a forest far from home, he came upon a lake as clear as crystal. 30 ducks with brilliant white feathers swam on the lake's smooth surface. The young man saw as many white garments set out in a row along the shore. Dismounting, he took one of these and hid behind a nearby bush. As he watched, the ducks swam to the shore. 29 of them touched their soft white garments, instantly turning into beautiful maidens, and sank into the earth. Only the 30th sat upon the shore, called in a sad human voice, "I was told you were come. If you would kindly return my robe to me, I will tell you a strange story and ask you a great favor." Ivan set the little garment on the bank side beside the duck. As soon as she stepped upon it, the duck became a beautiful girl in a white robe. She was so fair and smiled so sweetly that the young man was speechless. "My name is Maria," she said. "My sisters and I were stolen from our father, the king of a distant country, by the demon who lives beneath this lake. The wicked creature has a claim upon you through your father. He has ordered me to bring you to him. But I have secretly watched you in his dark mirror, and I have fallen in love with you. Though his power compels me to bring you to him now, together we will find a way to escape. Will you come with me?" The Tsarevich, in love with the maiden from first sight, agreed. The girl took his hand, stamped her foot, and the ground opened around them. Together they sank into a huge cavern underneath the earth. At the center of the vast open space was a palace carved from a single ruby. Maria led Ivan through ivory gates to an immense room where a demon sat upon the golden throne. With a wave of his claw, he ordered Maria to leave. "Welcome to my kingdom," laughed the demon. "A long time ago, your father promised you to me." The demon went on to explain about Tsar Koyota's hasty promise. "If my father made such a vow, I shall honor it," said the Tsarevich. "Excellent, but," the monster went on, "for causing me to wait so long, you must perform 3 small tasks. Complete them successfully, and you shall win your freedom. Fail, and you shall forfeit your head." Ivan asked, "Well, what is the first task?" "You must build me a palace in 1 night," said the demon. "The roof must be pure gold, the walls marble, the windows crystal. You must set it in a garden filled with flowers and trees, fish ponds and fountains. Do this, and you are 1 step nearer to your freedom. But if you do not, I will have your head." The demon had his troll servants escort Ivan to a room with 2 high-arched windows. A huge mirror in a gold frame stood between them. Through a table was laden with savory food and a goblet of green wine the Tsarevich could not eat. He was touching the gold cross at his throat, brooding over the doom his father had unwittingly brought upon him. Toward evening, a bee flew into the room where, as Ivan watched, it turned into the lovely Maria. "Good evening, Tsarevich Ivan," she said. "What are you pondering that makes you so sad?" "How can I help being sad," he replied, "when I am going to lose my head in the morning?" "Have you forgotten that I promised to help you? Do not grieve. I have learnt some of the demon's magic myself. Go to bed, and when you wake up tomorrow, the palace will be finished. All you must do is walk around it, tapping on the walls as if you built it yourself." As the jewels that lit the cavern brightened the morning to begin the underworld's day, Ivan stepped out of his room and found a magnificent palace, exactly as Maria had promised. When the demon arrived, he found Ivan inspecting the marble walls as if he had just finished the work. "You certainly have an eye for beauty," said the amazed demon. "So my second challenge will test just how keen your eye is. Tomorrow, I will have 30 beautiful princesses who are sisters stand before you in a row. You must walk past them 3 times, and then pick out the Princess Maria." This time Ivan returned to his room in fine spirits, ate all the food set out for him. "Oh, it will be the easiest thing in the world to recognize my beautiful Maria," he said aloud. "Ah, me, that may not be so easy as you imagine," said the little bee, hovering beside his ear. "We are 30 sisters, so exactly alike that our own father could hardly tell us apart." "Then what am I to do?" cried the Tsarevich. "You will recognize me by a tiny fly I shall have on my left cheek." So saying, she flew away. The following morning the magician had Ivan brought to his throne room. There the 30 princesses stood silently in a row, all dressed exactly alike in rich brocade gowns woven with tiny birds and bright flowers. "Now," said the demon, "look carefully at these beauties 3 times, and tell me which is the Princess Maria." Ivan walked past, studying each young woman, but they were all so alike. They seemed one face reflected in 30 mirrors, and the promised fly was nowhere to be seen. The second time he viewed them, he still saw no insect. Ivan grew worried as the demon chuckled behind him. But the third time, he saw a little fly brush one fair cheek. Immediately the young man seized the girl's hand and shouted, "This is Princess Maria!" "That is right," said the monster angrily. "You must do one more thing to gain your freedom." He held up a tiny gold casket. Tomorrow morning you must tell me what the marvelous marvel is inside of here, or lose your life." Ivan returned to his room, and when Maria came to him in the fading jewel light of the evening, he said, "Surely you can find out what wondrous wonder is in that gold casket." "Alas," she shook her head sadly, "that secret is protected with a magic spell none can break." "Then I shall lose my head," he said miserably. "No, dear Ivan," said Maria, "I love you so much that I shall either save your life or die with you. We must escape now. There is a church that marks the limit of the demon's power. If we can reach it, we will be safe. Come with me." Then she breathed on the mirror, capturing his reflection in the glass. Locking the door behind them, they hurried to the spot where they had descended into the lower world. There the princess stamped her foot, and they returned to the shore of the lake. Ivan's charger was gazing near the water. The two quickly mounted and sped towards the distant church that was their only hope of escape. In the meantime, the demon sent his wretched servants to fetch the Tsarevich. They found Ivan's door locked, and when they knocked, Ivan's reflection called out from the mirror, "I will be there in a little while," and so they returned to the throne room. After a long wait, the demon again sent his servants to bring the young man before him. A second time the reflection answered sharply, "I will be there soon enough. Tell your master to bide his time." At this, the demon lost all patience and commanded the door be broken down. When the servants burst into the room, the reflection laughed at them and then vanished. Howling with rage, the demon gave his minions horrible beasts to ride and sent them to the surface to catch Ivan and Maria. Further along the road, the Tsarevich said, "I hear sounds of pursuit close behind us. I will use what magic I have, and we must pray that it will be enough to save us," cried Maria. She cast a spell that changed her into a river, Ivan into a wooden bridge, and the charger into a blackbird. Beyond the bridge the road branched 3 ways. When the magician's servants came to the bridge, they milled around in confusion because the charger's hoofprints had stopped suddenly, and they did not know which way of the 3 roads to follow. They returned to the master trembling and told him what had happened. "Oh, you fools!" screamed the monster. "They were the river and the bridge! Bring them back at once, or I will punish you terribly!" The pursuit began again. Ahead, Ivan and Maria were racing across a meadow. "I hear hoofprints only a little way behind us," shouted Ivan, and once more Maria wove a spell, turning herself, Ivan, and his charger into a thick forest. Their pursuers entered the woods, but searched for them in vain. In despair, they returned once more with empty hands to the demon. "I shall go after the wretches myself," he bellowed, and then he mounted a chimera with a lion's head, the body of a goat, and a dragon's tail. With his servants, he rose to the surface and took up the chase. Not far ahead, Ivan warned, "I hear the sounds of pursuit." "I recognize that roar of the demon's mount," said Maria. "Now we have only a single chance remaining. Give me the gold cross from around your neck." Clasping the cross in her hand, Maria changed herself into a little church, the horse into a steeple, and Ivan into a monk. Moments later, the demon and his troop appeared. Since the church looked like the one that was marked the limit of his power, the demon halted at its steps. Because the cross's blessing was mixed with Maria's magic, he could not see through the trick. "Did a young man and a woman on a horseback come this way?" he demanded of the monk, who was really Ivan in disguise. "Yes," said Ivan. "They stopped just long enough to ask me to say a prayer for you." At this, the demon turned himself and his followers into a swarm of hornets that flew angrily back the way they had come. But Ivan and Maria continued on until they reached the real church in safety. Soon after this, they returned to the country of Tsar Coyota. There Ivan and Maria were married, and they lived happily and prospered the rest of their lives.